Welcome to the PernixCyber podcast, where we discuss trending topics in cybersecurity. I am your host, Felix Jimenez, and I appreciate you stopping by for today's episode. So in today's episode, we're going to be discussing a Ford bug that exposed customer and employee records from internal systems. So the Ford Motor Company is having a rough go at the moment. So this particular bug in Ford Motor Company's website allowed sensitive information to be leaked, right, from their sensitive systems, and they were able to obtain proprietary data. The data included customer databases, employee records, and internal tickets, among other things. The information exposure came from a misconfiguration in the customer engagement system running on Ford servers. The issue, remember we had talked about common vulnerabilities and exposures, was caused by CVE 2021-27653. If you plug in that particular number, so it starts with CVE-2021-27653. If you plug that into your Google browser, you'll be able to get all of the information pertaining to this particular vulnerability. So the researchers shared screenshots of Ford's internal systems, their databases, and it was said that the information contained personally identifiable information, or PII, which includes the following. When I'm saying that they had a rough go, they had a rough go. So it had customer and employee records, finance account numbers, database names, and tables. So it's a little bit technical, but that contains a lot of sensitive information. OAuth tokens. So this should be kept confidential because this is what is used as the authorization mechanism to the data. So they got access to the OAuth tokens. Internal support tickets, user profiles within the organization, internal interfaces, and search bar history. This was a pretty major attack, and they used this vulnerability to gain even more information, and were able to take over certain accounts. The biggest challenge is that it took 6 months to force a disclosure with Ford. So the challenge with that is that, Ford was notified because the researchers found the particular bug and they notified them. And then with some challenges in the communication with Ford essentially just stopped communicating with the researchers. And it was only after 6 months that Ford was forced to acknowledge that the breach happened. So it's something for you guys to be mindful of. And again, this is going to take us back to the reason for this particular podcast is to arm you with information that you otherwise wouldn't normally have access to. So what I'd like for you guys to do, right, whenever these sort of breaches happen, right, if you are a Ford customer, right, whether you're stateside or anywhere in the world, if you own a Ford and had any interactions with the Ford Motor Company, I want to make sure that you keep an eye on your accounts, right? Because when they get access to this sensitive information, the attacker, is going to try and engage in nefarious activity, right? Try to steal your identity or try and make sure that, or try to gain access to your personal accounts. So they'll try in any way possible, right, to use the information that they've obtained to do harm. So I want you guys to be vigilant and make sure that you keep an eye on all of your accounts and just do good hygiene. I'm actually going to put out another podcast that talks about cybersecurity hygiene. But I want you guys to please be mindful that if you own a Ford vehicle, right, you might have been part of the data that was exposed. So you have to be extra vigilant with your accounts to make sure that you stay on top of any issues that could potentially arise, right? Lock your credit. If you do anything, just make sure that you lock your credit. I know that there's some costs associated with it, but the costs, far outweigh, the risk of not having it. So that's my encouragement for today. And that's this episode of the PernixCyber podcast. If you are watching us on YouTube, I encourage you to leave us a like, a comment, and please do consider subscribing so that you can always get these alerts when they are published. So until next time, be vigilant.